Are lawyers about to become obsolete, or are they about to become 10x more powerful than ever before? What if the real problem isn't bad lawyers, but broken systems, bloated tools, and 10 different tabs just to write one contract? AI isn't replacing attorneys, it's exposing how inefficient the entire legal system has been. Right now, most legal work is chaos, fragmented tools, endless documents, missed context, hidden risks. Now imagine this, you upload 100,000 pages of case files, and instead of searching, you talk strategy. The system maps relationships, detects contradictions, runs simulations, and tells you, this argument wins, this one loses, here's why. Not guesses, not vibes, auditable reasoning. That means 1 hour of work can produce what used to take 10 or even 20. So the real shift isn't AI replacing lawyers, it's lawyers finally doing what they were trained to do, thinking. So if your product still requires humans to clean up bad outputs, you're building dependency. But if you eliminate friction, you unlock entirely new markets, more cases handled, more people served, more access to justice. So are you building something that replaces effort or something that expands what's possible for humans? Welcome to AI for Founders, I'm Ryan Estes. This is for founders who want to build smarter, faster, and actually win with AI, not just bolt it on. Today you're going to learn how elite builders are eliminating complexity, scaling output, and creating unfair advantages in legacy industries. If you're serious about playing this game, go to aiforfounders.co and get in the room where the real builders are. We send leverage. One email could change your entire roadmap. And if this hit, drop a review like it's a term sheet. One sentence, high conviction, let's go. Thank you so much for joining me. Welcome to the podcast.
Thank you for having me, Ryan.
Absolutely, my pleasure. Very excited to talk about your project because, you know, in the hero section of the website, it says, do more legal work in less time with fewer tools. And, you know, I'm not a legal professional, so if I can limit my legal work, I would love to do it. So I would love for you to give us an introduction to your tool, kind of what you do and who you do it for.
Absolutely. So let me give you a real quick rundown of Irys and exactly why we created it the way we did. Essentially, when you go into legal, one of the things you see is first, there are a lot of point solutions trying to sell like, oh, we do a Word plugin. Oh, we're going to host documents for you. We're going to do this for you. And each of these does one very niche little thing. And essentially, lawyers are forced to buy 10 of these point solutions to do their work more efficiently. And if you're a big law firm, that can work really well for you. But if you're a small or medium-sized shop, you just get overwhelmed. And what we started to see with ChatGPT coming out and generative AI is that this problem became 10x worse because suddenly you could create like a very niche little product, which is essentially just a system prompt around one of these models and say, we've built an AI for transactions, we've built an AI for misery law. Like it got, people just started getting extremely overwhelmed with lawyers. And that my co-founder was a former big law lawyer himself. He had tried a lot of these tools. He'd experimented a lot with them, and he was constantly inundated with outreach with these tools that in fact did not do what they should have because they were just these little point solutions. So what we built was an entire end-to-end legal platform that allowed people to basically, if there's any kind of legal work you have, we have mathematically guaranteed algorithms, some of which we've open sourced, that basically adapts to your work and is able to organize your data better and in essence just give you higher quality legal work without charging you an arm and a leg for it. Because the other problem is that a lot of these guys charge you a lot of money for very little value.
100%. You know, and what's been like maybe holding attorneys back from AI is just the hallucination conundrum. You know, a year ago, anybody that was kind of working with generative tools would be like, oh man, this is just quoting things completely wrong. How do you feel like we've come as far as the large LLMs, and maybe how does Irys kind of approach, you know, legal writing, which obviously cannot have hallucinations?
Absolutely. So when it comes to hallucinations, the most important thing for anybody to remember is just in the fact that hallucinations really come from multiple categories. You can have hallucinations within your data where you say, oh, there's a there's a case that cites this that's useful. where the case doesn't exist. And this is the most common kind of hallucination that everybody talks about. But we also, Ryan, have a lot of hallucinations around. So we have a lot of hallucinations around where an AI will say, oh, this court case said something. And on the surface, it looks right. But when you actually start digging into it, it's not applicable for you for many various reasons. It might be a different jurisdiction where your jurisdiction contradicts it, or it's a completely different domain where suddenly it's no longer like if it was something in medical and you're doing something in finance, there might not be a carryover. So you have all of these issues that often pop up with hallucinations, and this is a much more insidious form. Or a third kind of hallucination is really comes from context, and this is where Irys really shines. Is that if you have very large sets of inputs, and this has been done over many years. For instance, you're reviewing the documents of a litigation or an arbitration where you've gone in back and forth between multiple years. You have expert testimonies, you have expert testimonies countering it, you have cross-examinations, etc. Very unlikely that, or pretty much never, that your documents are organized in a way where an AI will read document number 1 and say, okay, I should now read document number 2 to touch this point to answer this question. Now I should read 3. Oh, 3 makes this claim, but document 2 or a court case law that came out actually would apply this conditionally or something else. So these kinds of context management and reasoning is where also creates a lot of issues, and these creates all kinds of hallucinations that typically don't get flagged because or are hard to catch for, because if you're just trying to use an LLM for everything and you're just doing vector search, you will miss a lot of this. So the lawyer just sees a bad end product and they call it a hallucination, but behind the scenes there are multiple things. And what we have done is we have systematically, by breaking down every possible source of error, we are able to build subsystems that capture every individual aspect of hallucinations. And then it's about constantly improving that each subsystem with the feedback we get, with the edge cases we're able to catch. And that allows us to become much more reliable than any other legal AI competitor out there.
Amazing. So context is really key, especially here. And there's higher consequences probably in legal than anywhere else. When you're thinking about the kind of work an attorney does on average, what percentage of kind of this kind of administrative writing work is it replacing? Are you replacing 80, 90%? Is it 50%? How much review do you recommend that attorneys really spend with the documents they're coming in and out of Irys with?
So I think, again, here it's helpful to see it as nuanced, because it's not 50% of all of their work. Sure. It's 100% of some of their work, then maybe 10% of something else. The ratio we're often quoted is we are hearing anywhere from 3 to 5 times better improvement to one person actually quoted us a 20%, 20 time better improvement. So for every 1 hour they were putting into the platform, they were getting 20 hours of actual benefit. So, and a lot of this again comes down to what it is that Irys does. Right now, a lot of lawyers' workflows will either go into doing things manually if they're a small or medium shop, or they have to, if they're a big law shop and they have a lot of tools, they have to go to the document management system, pull out a few documents. So they have to upload that into something like ChatGPT, but then suddenly they realize, hey, I can't upload everything into there because I have confidentiality requirements, or these files are just too big, ChatGPT can't read it. Or one of the big issues that you think these systems have solved but haven't is OCR. Like the documents have handwritten annotations, they have all of these, and like very big competitors like Harvey AI often struggle to do this because there are very special systems designed for this. So then they have to scan these, do these, and they spend a lot of their time doing all of this. So they don't actually spend their time doing a lot of legal analysis and legal work. So one of the big benefits of Irys is we take everything out of their hands, where you just upload as many documents as you want. Our own system is going to knowledge graph it, OCR it, build the relationships, build the entity maps. And then all you have to do is really discuss your legal strategy. You tell it, hey, I'm thinking of drafting it this way. What do you think? It will run 50, 60 different simulations, identify what should work, what won't work, where are the risks likely to be. You get a very transparent and auditable thinking trace where it will both cite where it's coming up with its answers from and tell you, this is why I thought of this is why I thought of that. So you're able to interact with it. And because of this, the secondary benefit is that even if you disagree with something or you want to push back with something, because of this very auditable thinking trace, you're able to get a much deeper and richer answer. And all of that really leads to a much superior work product in 1 hour compared to other products where you might have to go spend 6, 7, 10 hours doing something and still not get a valuable final.
It's kind of bringing the whole tool suite into one container.
Yes. And really the more important thing to think about here, since a lot of your audience is likely founders, is it's not that we said, let me take this tool here, let me take that tool there, because from an engineering perspective, that doesn't work. What we have to do is we have to rebuild ground up to ensure that integrations never miss out, to ensure that when people upload new documents into their DMS systems or into Irys, our systems automatically configure the new relationships. They're able to catch new information, or often lawyers will tell you things in passing like, hey, I've argued this kind of case before. In my opinion, the current judges that are sitting or the current place I'm arguing in probably not very friendly to this. So we should tweak our arguments. So these kinds of memory features where the AI has to intelligently replan on the fly, that's not something that other people are able to pull off. And you only get this through deep software engineering integrations. It's not something where you can just try to chain together a bunch of APIs and calls and call it a day.
Amazing. And, kind of looking through your material, this is good for litigation attorneys, insurance defense, corporate and contracts, employment law. Are there any kind of like legal areas that Irys would not be good for?
So far, we haven't found any. Well, we've tried. There's obviously things we're better or worse at, and we're always trying to improve. But for instance, we have users all over the world that have tried the product and loved it. We have users from every kind of law that has tried and loved it. And really, the crux of this is entirely in our geometry. The way we represent information, the way we're able to reason through things, some of which we've open sourced so people can verify these claims themselves and look at the way we research, look at the way we organize embedding. All of these lead to much better outcomes.
Yeah. Nice. And I'm thinking this, I'm not an attorney, but I have an attorney. And is this something, I want to make the recommendation, be like, hey, you should go check out Irys. Could I then say this is going to 5x your output, so maybe you should reduce my billable hours by 5x? Or is this going to basically give me 5x the insurance that like, hey, I know my attorney is equipped with the tools that like is going above and beyond now, maybe what he was capable of before?
Absolutely. Both. I think.
Hey, all right.
Depending, like we've had both use cases. Some people, you're just drafting simple documents. You just want things done quickly. There's no reason that an NDA should take you more than 10 minutes of drafting and actually 2 minutes of drafting and then maybe half an hour of verification. There's no reason it should take you any more than that. And with our platform, like I'm really giving you the higher level edge cases. What we see is people draft an NDA in one shot and it's very good. So they're done there, right there. In other times, you're preparing for a deposition, you're preparing for something else. You just want very good quality responses. You have 100 gigabyte document dump based on all of the legal context, which is a real, our lawyers have dumped that onto the platform, and you just need to understand what to do. And you need to push something out quickly because your judge hearing is in a day or two. It will give you orders of magnitude better performance than anybody else. And obviously, I'm here talking a big game. Every founder comes here and says they're changing the world. We're so confident in our product that we've made it free sign up for anybody. So you don't have to take my word for it. You can go try the platform out yourself, and you can do it yourself. There's a reason we always win in our head-to-head demos versus every legal AI competitor on the planet. Um, we have, we have, and there's a reason we've never lost a customer. We've never lost an enterprise customer ever, because once you actually start using the platform, you will see the differences both in the speed and the quality.
Yeah. How are attorneys doing? The word for, a year has been AI's coming for our jobs. It's coming for attorneys' jobs first. Now, of course, there's probably like, if you're in the courtroom, that's never going to be replaced by a robot, I don't think. But there's a lot of areas where maybe it is. It just makes sense. If you're like drafting wills or you're doing repetitive kind of agreements, there's always nuance where people need a personal touch, not to mention just if you're in need of an attorney, you're usually in some kind of emotional distress, and it's nice to speak to a professional. But how are attorneys doing? Are they worried that Irys is going to turn into a legal robot and their days are numbered?
Not at all. It's really the other way around. Because our platform does so much work so quickly, you're able to take on work that was just never possible before.
Yeah.
And that really goes back to why we're releasing Irys Lite. That goes back to why we're doing so much for other stuff, why we made the platform free to begin with. It's a very big risk, especially for a startup at our stage, to be making things free and to be open sourcing all of our work, or open sourcing so much, because you're always worried like, hey, a well-funded competitor could copy you, could do this. But we truly believe in that legal has to be democratized. Right now, courts are backlogged. Tons of people need access to justice and they don't get it. And our platform lets you get this. So on the contrary, the presence of a good AI platform like Irys actually allows your attorney to do much more work, much faster work, higher quality of work, and thus take on many more legal cases than they would have otherwise. It does change the billable hourly model. You can no longer bill for hourly rates. But what you can definitely do is use the AI to be more efficient, and then more people will come to you. More people can use your services, and that completely changes your game.
Yeah. Amazing. And two really kind of big call outs that stood out for me about Irys is the unlimited context. So it's basically the token maxers are out there. They can just go crazy, with documents and upload. It reads every single one independently. And also zero data retained. So this is basically saying that it's not getting uploaded to the major LLMs. So are you basically creating a MCP server locally for every client where all of their information is stored locally?
So I think in both cases, slight misunderstandings, but largely you have the right picture. First, with regards to infinite context, it is processing all these documents. It's not independent in the sense, and this is actually a big problem with traditional techniques like vector search, where if you use something like Harvey, you can upload as many documents as you want, but they're just simple RAG wrappers, which is going to chunk it and then hope that your prompt has enough things to have cosine similarity matches. With Irys, we actually link across documents, entities, propositions, assertions, all of these things. If there's anything that could be possibly contradictory, we have like a self-updating graph. And all of this basically ensures that even when, like for any question, we're getting a truly comprehensive insight into your knowledge base. We're not giving you a proposition or a case law argument strategy that is actually going to be that might be countered by something else in the document set that you missed. Or, if you have a massive 1,000-page document that is out of context window for any LLM, and there's like a proposition C, section C quotes something in section D, a lot of the times RAG search will miss that. So we're just able to catch all of these things by mixing context into each other. The second aspect of this is zero retention. What that means is that we have special partnerships with all the LLM providers that they will never train on your data. They don't even retain your data. So we don't have to do anything fancy or with the MCPs, etc. I could sit here and pretend like we do these very sophisticated solutions there, but really we just spoke to all the LLM providers. We have a very good relationship with them all, and because they respect the work we do, they don't They don't retain your data, they don't touch it. And what this allows us to do is it simplifies the architecture quite a bit, which means it's
Gotcha.
cheaper for us to run. It's cheaper for you as the user. Otherwise,
Yeah.
we would be having 20 other headaches and we'd have to pass those costs on to our customers.
100%. And that creates its own leaks problem internally. There's always a trade-off, but if you have assurances and guardrails in place, I mean, the cost benefit analysis gets pretty easily. And I'd love to talk about cost too, and kind of how you approach pricing, because now with AI implementation, there's all kinds of different pricing models, whether it's by token or outcome-based pricing. A lot of people are doing kind of traditional SaaS and by seats. And it looks kind of like that's kind of how you have it. You kind of have an ABC pricing model where you have one seat, come on in and give it a shot. And then once you love it, then you can bring on more people into the program. So how did you approach pricing with kind of the different pricing options available for you?
Yes, that's a great question. So really, I think this also goes down to product strategy. We wanted to keep things as simple to begin with because a lot of the issues that with small and medium sized firms you have is that there's a very big difficulty with understanding where, like, just how to use the platform, what it would cost them. Because with legal tools, you had like all kinds of random pricing models. I saw per word, per page. Like somebody was charging them per word outputted. It was just a mess. And the first thing we wanted to do was ensure that anybody that's coming on our platform knows that we're not trying to squeeze every dollar out of them. So simplify that tremendously. Now that we've simplified that tremendously, we can start adding some usage-based pricing for the future. So we don't we didn't start off this way, but because our context management is so good, people started using us as a document management system, which means people are just dumping everything on there. So adding some prices per storage, adding some, we have some special modules for specialized work that we can charge extra for, where we will introduce some token-based pricing or something simple. The key inside there is just, we never want to make our monetization a bigger priority than ease of use for our users, because that will not really benefit anybody. We want to keep things as easy for our users to understand as possible, and then do monetization second. So and I think we've done a pretty good job with it. We're still running a pretty successful business at the end of the day because of all the AI and the optimizations we have done. It's not as though that puts us in the red or we lose money on it. It's just a matter of ensuring that everybody gets pricing, like fair, transparent pricing.
Yeah, love it. Doing research on you, there's a couple of things that popped up. I have to ask about, what is the chocolate melt cult?
So that is the AI research community that we've built. We have about 1.5 million people that we reach every month. Mainly through my newsletter on Substack called AI Made Simple, although there are other platforms as well. So there, again, the goal is to democratize access to cutting edge research. I think if you look at the AI landscape and commentary landscape, you tend to have people that just make money by telling you, oh, these are the 5 tools you can buy. These are the 10 prompt hacks I've learned. This is the 20 stuff I've learned. Or they make very simple things like, this is how you build a neural network, and that's all. Or you have people that just speak to PhDs with, this is exactly like, this is the most recent AI research paper. But if you were an actual builder or an investor or a policymaker or anything like that, who needs to understand the cutting edge, but like you don't have the resources to invest into your own AI lab to be like, okay, like this paper has released a different quantization method. How does that change our financials? We do that for you. We just research a bunch of stuff. We dig into a lot of the papers. As mentioned, we have amazing relationships with a lot of major AI labs, with whom we share data, and they share data back with us. And that allows us to know exactly what is the most impactful information in cutting edge AI, and how can you, as a random builder without any major resources, go start building from it tomorrow. Because ultimately, technology only benefits humanity, if it can benefit everybody, it shouldn't be a tool that just benefits a few extremely rich people. That, I think, to me, that's a very, it would be sad if this was, well, the contribution that tech had to the world.
This episode is brought to you by a dangerous idea. It's called reading, specifically the AI for Founders newsletter. 47,000 founders strong now, and it's the good stuff. No top 10 AI tools that will change your life written by someone who doesn't ship product. It's just real breakdowns of what's actually working in AI. Who's raised, who failed, who pivoted, and which founders quietly built $1 million in ARR while everyone else was arguing on X. It's written for people building with AI. Every week you get tactical frameworks, unfair advantages, breakdowns of real companies, and the occasional existential question about whether your startup is intelligent or just well-branded. It's free, it's sharp, it might mildly offend your current workflow. Go to aiforfounders.co and subscribe before your competitor does. Because the only thing worse than being replaced by AI is being replaced by a founder who reads. That's the newsletter at aiforfounders.co. Now back to the show. This episode is brought to you by MoBurst, the AI-first growth engine trusted by iconic startups like Calm, Robinhood, Reddit, Uber, and Google. MoBurst is a digital full-service mobile-first marketing agency that helps companies to scale and become category leaders. Whether you're finding product market fit or ready to accelerate growth, MoBurst delivers creative, data-driven solutions that help with scale and efficiency and impact. At MoBurst, we're not just guessing what works, we're predicting it. As an AI-first agency, MoBurst uses cutting-edge tools to analyze user behavior, adapt creative in real time, and uncover hidden growth opportunities. The result, marketing that's faster, smarter, and built to convert. From early-stage startups to global brands, we've helped hundreds of companies overcome complex challenges, unlock new audiences, and optimize every metric that matters. At MoBurst, we believe that creative thinking, advanced technology, and data are the core drivers of success at scale. If you're serious about scaling your business with precision and purpose, it's time to talk to MoBurst. Visit moburst.com and let's build something category-defining together. Yeah, but honestly, obviously, you've found like that message has really resonated. You know, your Substack has 250,000 subs. You know, the chocolate milk cult is spreading chocolate milk AI all over the world. Tell me a little bit of how you've been able to leverage that audience you've created to help Irys grow, and also, you know, how you went about like building that audience.
So for helping Irys grow, honestly, it hasn't been as impactful as you think, because my work is deep AI research and engineering. So it's not like lawyers sit there and are interested in reading about what is the math behind attention and how does that impact your financial statements, you know? They're not sitting there looking for GPU pricing and all of that. Where it has helped us tremendously is in the fact that we are able to do all of this research. Like, we open source something called latent space reasoning. And I can tell you right now, 1 year later, you guys are going to come back to this podcast. Your readers are going to come back and they'll be like, the first place we heard of it. It's what all the future labs are betting on with AI reasoning, because it has a lot of structural advantages that don't exist anywhere else. We were able to work on it, pioneer it, and we open sourced a very, very cheap, like a very lightweight version of it that anybody could run and test. And already in that, you see that we create some emergent properties that don't exist in traditional autoregression. Just the way LLMs work normally, what we open sourced creates new abilities that don't exist in them. And you can't just get that through prompting or training. That kind of stuff has been extremely helpful in getting us the partnership. So we talked to the best engineers at NVIDIA. And my newsletter, I had guys from Zipu AI come on, a DeepSeek, a GLM, like all the, MinMax. GLM is Zipu's model. But we're also talking to guys in DeepMind. I've been invited to Google Next a week from now or 2 weeks from now. Salesforce has invited me. Like, we're able to build these very strong technical partnerships so that everything we build, like, we know for a fact we're not just relying on external stuff. Like we're not relying on people to tell us what to build. We're not trawling the internet to be like, oh, what is the next optimization? We are the ones publishing that stuff, and that
Yeah.
creates extremely long-term moats for us from a product perspective.
100%, and it's actually very rare. Everyone's building with AI, but you really, by building kind of a personal brand, personal relationship first, then you have this unbelievable kind of insider connections because there's fair exchange. They get access to your audience, you get access to them. That influences your product. That being said, you could have probably pointed your AI expertise in any category of business with that kind of support. Why did you choose legal specifically?
What I mentioned earlier, democratization. I think in a world where you have technology that can make things happen faster, it is unconscionable that you can have people that are scared to get access to legal help. I know around New York City, there's people who are like, hey, my landlord doesn't do their stuff, messed up the building, and now they're overcharging us on rent, and we have nowhere to go because we don't have resources. In India, where I'm from, you have a 10-year backlog in civil cases, which means if you went to court tomorrow to say that my employer didn't pay me, and this happens much more frequently than you think, or my employer stole wages from me, you will not even get a high sitting for 10 years in the future. And you see that, you think, oh, that's an India specific problem, but that exists everywhere. How many times are you forced to eat shit because you're just scared to go into the law system because you don't have the money? With my newsletter, I often get, I have that all the time where sometimes if I'm critical of companies, I get lawsuits, threats where it's like, oh, we'll sue you for taking money from somebody, which I've never taken money. It's an absolutely absurd claim, but they say I have an agenda for writing against them or something. And in all of these cases, the reason this stuff can happen is because fundamentally our legal system has become very inaccessible to people. So when I met my co-founder, this was something we both agreed on, that there is no reason this stuff has to take this long, and there's no reason it has to be so expensive. And this is what we partnered up to build to change.
It's beautiful, man. Power to the people. I'm all about it. Was there a specific instance that kind of pointed this out to you explicitly? Is there like a Joker to your Batman?
I mean, the example I brought up from India, it's something I've seen very firsthand. You have a lot of farmers that were exploited because they were oversold some. They get overcharged for pesticides, etc., and then they have to go into debt. And if it doesn't work out, then you have loan sharks coming after them. So it's a pretty grim situation overall. So the inaccessibility to legal is something that I've kind of felt for a while. Even when I wasn't directly working on this, if you look at a lot of my work early on, I would often try to point out research that was trying to do this and improve this. But what we realized very early on is that a lot of the people that do legal AI research, at least pre-2023, were not building products. It was just, there's a database here that we have trained on, and I got my PhD and that's it. Or I built this as a project. But it was not going into meaningful progress. With my co-founder, the thing that changed is that I had somebody that we could build with, and that is what led to the creation of Irys.
Amazing. I love that. All right, we're ready to enter the quantum round. Are you ready, Devansh?
Absolutely.
All right. Aside from Irys, what experiments are you running with AI? What are you playing around with?
I think there's so much across a few different areas. Computer use, very important to see what can be done, what can't be done. We're testing security stuff extensively. I think we spoke a little bit about that. But people don't actually understand how many security vulnerability is being shipped into software right now. And this is leading edge software systems, because the AI, people are using AI to just open pull requests and do this, and it's creating an extreme. So we're just profiling security risks. Hardware is something we're very interested in. So just looking at how hardware is changing, etc. my work tends to be a bit more technical and cutting edge. It's not really we're trying these tools or doing this. Although on the computer use front, there's some clipping software I'm trying for videos and um, just some automation stuff.
Yeah. Speaking of vulnerabilities, obviously that big announcement from Anthropic about Mythos, finding and exploiting zero-day events and like all kinds of open source coding. What's your take on that?
I think with the Mythos specifically, I think it's hard to know how much of that is real, how much of that is a hype, because they didn't get so much information out. It's actually really hard for any serious person to know what they've actually built. That being said, I would not be surprised if it had done something. Truth be told, I don't think it's because of their model. I think more Anthropic has been experimenting with harnesses like Claude Code, etc. And one of the benefits of harnesses is that you can start to see where things fail more frequently because it's just going to take actions by itself. So I think that is likely creating a lot of, like, you're starting to identify where you have gaps in software, because the dirty secret about software is that so much of this is like built either by free maintainers who don't get paid. So they're overworked, they'll sometimes just pass things along. Or it's like, even if you have perfectly built modules, combining the modules is very difficult. So like people will combine them in sloppy ways and then build systems on top of that. And that'll just create all kinds of issues that harnesses are now able to find because they're just running like 100 actions and reading all the logs where humans could not. So I think it's more exciting than it is worrying, because really it's the perfect way to start identifying where our systems are weak. I would not be as worried about it because people, like, a lot of this is often hype.
Yeah, it is kind of unfortunate that like that has become kind of the marketing plan for the large LLMs is basically every 6 months, let's try and really scare everybody to try and create a regulatory moat around what we're building and nobody can have it. And like it does,
Yeah,
it kind of becomes kind of like crying wolf, you know?
absolutely.
Yeah.
I think you said it perfectly. I think that is the issue that we always have. Um, it One of the biggest issues you see is that with a lot of these systems now, they have no way to differentiate themselves. So they just make up these most random metrics that will say like, oh, this system worked for 8 hours straight and didn't stop working, or the system did something else, which is like, they're just trying to create some kind of a story around it, because like it's very hard otherwise to sell. And Irys has that issue too. Like every time we go to sell, we hear about 10 competitors we've never heard of before, but everybody's trying to get rich off this. So I do get the temptation. I just think it's a bit sad that um, in order to sell things, we're completely like destroying the discourse around tech, destroying the ability to have good faith conversations around what's working and what's not.
Yeah. And how do you kind of approach moats, let's say in general, because you're very public, you build in public, people know who you are, know what you're working on. And so they can just copy it. They could vibe code some together in a couple of weeks, some chat GPT wrapper, you see them pop up. They're trying to move in on your market. Like, what are you doing to make Irys like a defensible business?
So that's a good question. And actually, I wrote about this recently. And funny enough, I had an outreach from Harvard Business School that they might be, or somebody there that wants to use this in their course. Where I essentially just wrote about this problem, because this is not a new question in tech.
Yeah.
Why can somebody not copy you? And I think people don't understand how difficult it is to copy software, especially from different communication paradigms. So if I was a rapper and you're a rapper and you built a better UX around something, it's easy for me to copy that, and vice versa, because we have the same paradigm. And this is what I mentioned a little bit starting into our call. It's not just about building features, it's about building a system that interplays with it well. Why could GitHub Copilot not copy Cursor? And why could neither of them copy Claude Code properly? Even though each if you look at the place in the market, had exceptional brand name, exceptional money. Was it? It's just because every software is built with certain assumptions around what it does, what it doesn't do, how it operates, how it moves data, how it processes it, what is valuable, what should not be done by it, and should be left to the user. And often, these are entire life philosophies. So you can't just cut out one part of it and put it into another, because you'll find all kinds of migration conflicts. And that's one of the biggest moats we have, is just we have built everything ground up. We are like the first truly agentic system in legal. We are the first truly non-wrapper solution in legal, at least in the new generation of stuff, because we, from day one, in fact, even from before I started Irys, we identified fine-tuning doesn't work. I was writing about how vector search is limited in 2022, which is before people even knew what, like, RAG as a word didn't exist then, when I broke down why vector search was limited. And that's not to say it doesn't work, but we did identify some structural issues and why you had to work around that to improve it. So when it comes to stuff like this, we built from day one, keeping in mind all these limitations. And we do build a lot in public, but there's a lot we don't share. That's the collaboration with the labs we do this. We just don't have the time to share everything. And that allows us to build technically a much superior product that grows. Having these relationships with DeepMind means I know what's going to happen with the models before they're released. So we can see how would we change our eval policies? Is this worth focusing on? How could we improve? Secondly, there's a context mode to it. The more you use our platform, we've built it to be self-organizing and self-learning, the more it will learn your preferences. It's not going to train on your data. We're very strict about that, but it will learn that Ryan likes these kinds of answers more. Ryan likes to argue in this format. Ryan's best practices state that this format should be followed when writing an email. This should be the memo. This should be, and all of these little quality of life improvements as you interact with the legal AI and you say, hey, for this case, I prefer this strategy. It's annotating all of that. So it enriches your data set, which means suddenly you cannot leave, because if you leave, you lose a lot of embedded intelligence. So both on the technical side and the product side, we create these AI native moats that just don't exist in today's technology.
Yeah, it's brilliant. The legal world really lends itself to AI with a tool set very well. The listeners of this podcast love ideas because we all chase shiny things all day long. Is there another category that, if not legal, because you guys pretty much have that category buttoned up, is there another one that maybe is primed and ready for something similar, a way to democratize maybe a high barrier of entry, highly complicated, highly nuanced industry?
I think you just answered your own question. Every industry like that is ready to be democratized. Yes.
Yeah.
There isn't. And I think not just that, often low barrier to work industries or things that don't have existing solutions, they can also be democratized by bringing something to them. If you have, I know a person that's building AI automation for modeling agencies. And modeling as an industry is extremely outdated technically. So her system will handle a lot of that for the agencies. And in doing so, will reduce a lot of manual work, reduce scheduling conflicts for models, because they often have to go through that, or other kinds of issues. You can use stuff to bring it to new industries. I think what people don't realize is you can just try stuff and it will likely work. What kinds of things you try, like some of these optimizations we're building would likely not work in other industries because law has a high paying capacity. A lot of other industries don't. So you don't want to build a very expensive optimization for the nth percentile performance in a field where it might not work. But many cases, you don't need to worry about the 99.9999% accuracy. 99 is good, or 80% is good. And if you can deliver 80% where the world gets 0%, or where it's 20% normally, and if you put in a lot of work, you get 100%, but very few people do that. this kind of stuff, it's ripe for disruption. And there's so much capital flowing around looking for problems to solve. There's a lot of people who are asking like, hey, how can you make my life easier? I think it's the perfect opportunity right now.
Yeah. Yeah, you can just build things, and right now it's easier than ever. So it almost comes down to what you should not build. When I think about you and Irys, I can tell you have a passion for democratizing legal. Do you think it's safe to trust that passion? Is that where founders should really kind of do a gut check and say, like, what's the thing that really puts a fire in my belly, and go for that?
You have different kinds of founders, so I can't speak to them all. I can just say that chances are, if you're trying to do something great and you're trying to disrupt something, you really want to change something, or you think you're going to be working in a field with a lot of competition, then the simple truth of the matter is that if you're not super duper passionate about it, if you're not going to want to work on things, then what will happen is somebody will build what you wanted. And nothing sucks more than seeing somebody else succeed off an idea you had, and you're like, oh, I knew this would work, but it didn't. So like, either save yourself the heartache of not going through that, or just be ready to put in a lot of it. And sometimes it's passion, sometimes it's desperation. Like, you can have multiple reasons for doing this, but unless you have a reason to absolutely have to win, this field just moves so quickly that, like, I find myself feeling outdated every few weeks, because some assumptions I had about what technology can or cannot do just no longer applies, or something I thought worked really well suddenly breaks. So from that perspective, I think it's always good to have some reason to want to do things, whether that's passion, whether that's something else. But on the flip side, I do think there's a lot of people that just want to try things. They want to build a side project to try things and maybe turn it into a hobby hustle, just see what works, what doesn't. And that's absolutely fine. Like, I think if you're interested in building something, you shouldn't let the scary stories about entrepreneurship eating all your days and all of that to try, because it's okay to just try things and then realizing it's not for you. And AI makes that very easy.
Amen, brother. I love it. That's a great place to resolve here. Now, if you're an attorney, go to irys.ai. It's IRYS.ai. It's in the show notes right now, wherever you're listening to this show. And if you have an attorney, send it to them. Maybe you get a discount on that bill. If you want to connect with Devansh, then just Google chocolate milk cult leader. That's the best way to do it, because he's number one. And I can't recommend his Substack highly enough. That's incredible. And congratulations on the success of that. I know how hard it is building up a newsletter. I've been working on mine about a year and feel really good about where we're at. So that's incredible. Any other place where people can connect with you personally online?
I leave all of my social media links that you can use to connect me: LinkedIn, Instagram. Any of those are good. I think I try to be as accessible as possible, because it's very important to, like, if we're trying to build things, democratize access to building, it would be very weird if I was just not available. And I think if people are going to reach out to me, I think the least I can do is give them a good reply back. So any of those platforms will work. Substack itself has a group chat and DM features now, so you can use that instead if you don't want to expose personal information to me. All things work.
Incredible. Well, I really appreciate the conversation. This was fantastic. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me, Ryan.
You are about to spend anywhere from $100,000 to $300,000 on your kid's college education, and that's not a small bet. And right now, there's a very real chance that they graduate and can't find a job, not because they weren't smart enough, not because they didn't work hard enough, but because the job market changed and nobody told them. Employers are hiring AI native candidates, people who don't just know their field, but know how to work with AI at a professional level. And most colleges are not teaching this, not even close. AInativestudent.com is the program that fills that gap. It takes high school and college students and teaches them how to actually think and work with AI the way top companies expect on day one, so your investment in their degree actually pays off. You're already paying for tuition, housing, textbooks. This is the one thing that actually makes it all worth it. Go to AInativestudent.com because a diploma is a starting point. Being AI native is what gets them hired. That's AInativestudent.com.